Jennifer from Yellow Brick Road Farm. I've got Luke on camera today, and we are just getting ready to do session 1 of edible gardening for kids and parents. We're going to get you the garden you want and the garden you need to grow right now. Get started so that you can have your own food by summer and fall. When you grow a vegetable garden, you can literally eat out of it for 8 to 12 months of the year if you wish. I like taking a little break in the fall, so we eat out of it for a good long time, and we preserve our food after that so that we can enjoy it all winter long. So again, I'm Jennifer from Yellow Brick Road Farm. If you're just tuning in, we're going to be doing vegetable gardening for beginners, for kids and parents alike, but mostly I'm gearing this towards you guys, you kids out there. You're gonna get gardening, and you're gonna start picking what vegetables you want to grow and what things you'd like to be able to pick out of your garden this year, and get that started. So we have here, I have Oreo. So Oreo is our oldest rabbit, about 8 years old. And he's a Holland Lop. She's a Holland Lop, sorry. She's a doe, and she's retired now. She doesn't have babies anymore, but she still produces some of the best poop that we could have. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about some poop. We're going to pick a location today for your garden, and then we're going to start planting that garden, and we are going to talk about some poop. We're also going to talk about some homework for you today. Okay, nothing strenuous, I promise, just fun stuff that you're going to want to do in order to get ready for next week when we start seed starting, and we start getting into actually getting in the dirt and doing our rows and things like that. So again, I'm Jennifer from Yellow Brick Road Farm. If you're just tuning in, we're getting ready to do edible gardening for beginners and for kids. Luke, pay attention. For kids and for parents. So we're gonna stay focused here on the camera. Anyway, and we're gonna get started. So we're gonna talk about picking a location. Now I'm out here. Luke, you can scan a little bit here. Yeah. So we're doing farm renovations right now, but luckily it hasn't been impacted in my garden. It's actually made it a little better. We were able to put in some posts, and we were able to put in some wire, which will keep the chickens out, and we'll be able to garden a little more effectively without having the chickens in, and that will help with them not scratching or pecking at the ground, and adding poop that we don't need. So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. We're going to talk about poop that we don't need and poop that we want, poop that we have and poop that we need later, and poop that we want to keep in the garden for a long period of time in order to get the most benefit from it. So again, this is Oreo, and she's going to be helping us today with the poop talk, and we're going to talk about that. So picking a location. So we've got a beautiful, probably about 1/8 of an acre roughly here that we've garden in, and we try to use all of that. Last year I wasn't able to use a portion of it. It was still kind of grassy. I put up a temporary hoop house, which if you'd like to build something, kids, now's the time to build a temporary hoop house. It's not hard, okay? So you know, you can Google that, and you can look up that temporary hoop house. We'll keep get some greenhouse plastic, and we'll have some greenhouse plastic on some wood posts, and that's really all you need. That's all I did last year. I was able to keep some tomatoes in there and keep the rain off them, which is what makes tomatoes really kind of get that yucky black spot around the stem. So anyway, we're going to talk Oreo shedding. We're going to talk about what vegetables you like, what vegetables you want to plant. So start thinking about that, because even if you only have a small section, and I'm going to get Luke to pan over here, and we're going to talk about this small section here. So this is all going to be for herbs, but I could easily grow lettuce, peas, beans here, and you know, and just in this little area, I could definitely harvest for a good 3 to 4 months out of this little area. Just some food, like, you know, if you want just some fresh greens, if you want to get some peas in there and some beans, you can definitely even just use this small area here. Now, in order to prepare one of these beds, what I did was I made sure that I had uninterrupted sun for 8 to 10 hours. So uninterrupted sun for 8 to 10 hours. So I went out and made sure that when I was picking this location years ago, that I was able to stand in, where it was sunny. And in Cape Island, that's not always easy. Everybody knows Cape Island doesn't get a lot of sun, huh? Some fog. But when I'm out here in the sun, I want to make sure that when the sun rises in the east, so for those of you who don't know that, sun rises in the east, sets in the west. So rises in the east, sets in the west. So you want to stand and you want to look where your sun rises. And when that sun rises, you want to make sure you get 8 to 10 hours until it sets in the west. And you want to make sure that your roof isn't in the way, that your trees aren't in the way. It can't be perfect. I've still had trees and I've still had stumps and all of that. So that doesn't hurt it. It doesn't make, you know, you just have to be more careful what you plant in those areas. But you definitely want to make sure that you're getting that, you know, the best spot that you can. So, and if that means that you're planting in a raised bed, then that's where you're going to put your raised bed. That's where you're going to build it. So when you build a raised bed, you're building something about 18 inches off the ground, and you are building that, or you're repurposing things. I've used old beds frames. Some of you may know that people have old bed frames and they're throwing them away. So you can definitely use old bed frames and fill those halfway with dirt, and then we're going to top it off with some compost, which we're going to talk about soon. So yeah, you want to make sure, kids, that you're going out and you're looking, you know, in the east and the west. So east, west, sun rises in the east, sets in the west. You want to get that 8 to 10 hours, okay, of uninterrupted sun, so that you can come out here and be able to get the maximum amount of sun for your vegetables and your fruits, okay? Because you might want to plant fruits too. It's not just about vegetables. So we have a number of fruits in the garden. We have raspberries and blueberries and grapes, and actually tomatoes are a fruit. Contrary to popular belief, they are not a vegetable, so they are fruit. So you actually can, you know, plant those as a fruit as well. So we're going to talk about that location. If all you've got's containers, and I'll get Luke to span over to the containers. If all you've got's containers, now I plant some things in containers that I don't want to spread. I plant some things in containers purely for you know, I just want to try a couple seeds off of something. I don't necessarily want a whole row of it. I don't want it to take up a lot of space in my garden. But kids, if you want to get a container, you can plant in anything. If you've got an old kiddie pool, put some holes in it and put some dirt in that. Maybe you might want to put a little bit of fence if you've got a lot of animals around, but you can plant in an old kiddie pool. You can plant in anything like that. So you can get started in anything. There's really no excuse for anyone to not be growing something. I've seen on a page that I follow, Humans That Grow Food. It's amazing what people grow, even on little balconies. Okay, even in little window boxes. So we can definitely get started with the best of, you know, the best dirt we can. So that's what you want to start with, is the most sun you can get. Okay, and the best dirt you can get. So when we get talking about dirt, we're going to be talking about compost. And when I talk about compost, I'm talking about like, it's got what they call microbes. So they've got microbes in it, and if you put the compost or soil under a microscope, you want to see like billions of little live organisms in that compost. So that's the big deal about compost and soil. You want to make sure that in order that your soil is living, because that's what makes things grow. So right now the soil is taking a rest, the garden's taking a rest. I'm not going to till up this garden until probably another 3 weeks or so, and that's because the butterflies and the bees are just waking up. So all the butterflies and the bees are, Luke can pan over here, they're asleep in this garden, different places, and they're just getting ready to wake up. So they're going to wake up and they're going to come out, and I don't want to till the garden until then. So the soil is what we're going to start with the basis of this. So now is the time. What are you calling? Now is the time that we are going to start putting on amendments and compost and putting in things to the soil that we need. So, Luke, do you want to span to the poop, please? I know, not his favorite job right now. So this is horse poop. Okay, so we don't need to zoom in on that too close, okay, in case you're still eating breakfast. And this is rabbit poop. Come a little closer, Luke. Yeah, because I want them to see the difference with the bedding and the straw in it and all of that. So, and then over here, we have compost. So this is actually what this turns into. So see how it holds together, and see how it's not crumbly and it's not hard and lifeless. It's actually thick. And if you look in there, you're going to see all kinds of worms. That's my chicken's favorite part when I'm spreading it all out, is to come in here and eat the worms. So the difference between horse poop, okay, the difference between horse poop and rabbit poop is horse poop, okay, has not been broken down. Horse poop, you can span up, you don't have to stay on the poop the whole time. So the horse poop hasn't been broken down. The horse poop has actually been fresh. It's full of hay. Horses eat hay and grain. So the hay has seeds in it, and the horses, they've taken out the nutrients they need, and then they've pooped. So what happens is that poop will sit there and it will start to break down. But with horse poop and with those seeds, they need to get to a certain temperature in order to break down properly. So I have to pile that really, really high, and it has to heat up to a nice temperature inside. And that takes, well, if I was going to work and turn it with a pitchfork all the time, it would take a lot less time. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to let it set for about roughly a year and a half, okay? So I've always got a manure pile on the go all over the yard. So that horse poop's got to sit, or cow poop, or, anything like that is going to sit for a year and a half, okay? And if you're not going to turn it, you can get it to break down faster. The bunny poop, okay? So we got bunny poop right here, and this is Oreo's specialty. So Oreo went and look at that face. Look how cute. Ooh, Oreo. So this poop can go right in the garden now. And what's the difference between that and that poop is nitrogen. Not the horse poop has seeds. Chicken poop has a lot of nitrogen. So the nitrogen has to break down, and the nitrogen has to break down. And otherwise it'll burn your plants. Too much nitrogen will hurt your vegetables, okay? So it's got to break down, it's got to age. Chicken poop needs to age for about 3 to 6 months in order for it to be good. So we have got rabbit poop though, and sheep manure, okay? Sheep poop. Manure is just another word for poop, okay? We've got sheep manure as well as rabbit manure that can go in the garden right away. And that can go in the garden right away because it doesn't have as much nitrogen. Okay, so they process their food differently. They're ruminants. So we actually have sheep that are ruminants, and they can process that a little differently. So it doesn't have the nitrogen in it. So it can break down. It can go right in your garden. Now, am I going to put that on fresh vegetables? Do you like your vegetables with a side of poop? No. I'm going to put it in now because I've got nothing growing in here now. So I've got no vegetables growing in here now. So this is the time that I want to take Oreo's poop, rabbit poop, sheep poop, bedding, straw, all of that can go in there. Just not hay, okay? Try not to put hay in your garden because you'll get all those seeds popping up and then you'll end up with a nice pasture. okay? And unless you've got goats, you don't want that. So you're gonna take this once it gets all broken, you know, and it's gonna break down, and you're gonna put that in your garden now, because it's gonna be a while before your vegetables come up. So you're gonna be able to work that into your garden. So how do you work manure into your garden? You're gonna put a nice thick topping on. You're gonna leave it for a few weeks. Okay, so even if you're planting in containers, you're gonna do this now. If you're planting in a raised bed, you're gonna do this now. You're gonna get a hold of some manure, and you are going to put a good, how big is an inch? About that big? We want about a good 3 to 4 inches of manure or composted manure on your garden. Okay, so, and then I'm gonna show you what a tiller looks like. Luke's gonna follow me over here. And we're gonna look at this tiller. Okay, so this is what's called a tiller. And we're not gonna till that manure in. We're not gonna till that manure in until a little later. So that's what a tiller does. Okay, so if you're just getting started in your garden, this is where you're gonna start. Because if you're gardening with grass, if you're doing a raised bed, you're not going to be doing that. But if you're gardening with grass, okay, you're going to want to do over here. You're going to want to do this. Okay, so we've tarped this. Well, I tarped this off, but Luke took the tarp to go build a camp. So anyway, that's all right. But so I've put down some old rugs and some things like that I'm tarping off, because I want to kill that grass underneath, because I want to make it easier to till my garden and till that manure in after. So basically I'm going to, when this is all done, that grass is going to die off. I'm going to till that. So I put some manure under there. I put this on top, and I'm going to just let that set for probably about another, I'm not going to till this until probably closer to May, because this is going to be for the tomatoes and the peppers and things. So we're going to start with that. So that is going to be the basis of the tomatoes and the other things that will go in closer to June. So what's going to go in your garden next month? Easy, easy, easy. So next month we have going into the garden, okay, we have some onions, some shallots, some potatoes, some carrots, peas, early provider beans. Think hodgepodge. You're going to be putting in things that can go in the cold and will be harvested near June or July, okay? So it depends on the weather, but hopefully next month we're not going to get too much rain. We're going to be able to plant those things next month. So again, we're looking at peas, carrots, shallots, leeks, onions, cabbage, radishes, carrots, early provider green beans, and peas can all go into the garden in April once the soil warms up. So how do you know the soil's ready to plant? So the soil will be ready to plant when there's no snow on it, when it holds together, but not in a goopy, muddy mess, okay? And when it's not a heavy rain forecasted. So if you plant in your garden and there's a heavy rain forecasted, it's going to get washed all out, okay? So you're going to make sure that you plant in next month. So we're looking at about a 3-week timeline, okay, guys? So 3 weeks, I want you to get this manure on here, get this compost on your garden. Remember, composted manure, not fresh horse manure. If you're just tuning in, it's Jennifer Spencer from Yellow Brick Road Farm, and we are talking poop, horse manure, rabbit manure, and good old composted manure and bedding. So if you look at this, you can see I've been digging in it. You can still see a little bit of bedding that needs to be broken down. That's great, because that's going to keep adding nutrients to the soil. And so what that does is if I put this under a microscope, and you can do this if you've got a microscope at home, kiddos, take this and put it under your microscope, and I bet you will see tons of living organisms in there. And those are microbes, and microbes actually make your soil alive. So you want living soil, you don't want dead soil. So when you grab a bag of soil from the garden center, it's not that it's bad, but it's certainly not alive as it can be. Okay? Everyone benefits. Everyone benefits from having things added to your soil. Okay, so every soil benefits from having compost added to it, because it is the cycle of life. So this is how it's always been. When the dinosaurs pooped years ago, okay, so when the dinosaurs pooped, they added all that dinosaur poop went into the soil, and it caused lush, beautiful forests and things. They know that from scientists know that from things that they found in the fossils and the rocks and things like that. So they know that this has been going on for a number of years, and there's a reason why everything goes in a cycle. So we raise the animals, or we have animals that are living in our forests and living in our yards and things, and those animals help fertilize our ground in order for us to grow food. So those microbes that I was talking about, those microbes, they actually make your food taste better. So because they're alive, when the soil gets going, it makes your food taste better, and it just is a wonderful addition to any soil, is to make sure that you get those microbes in there and get those things alive. Okay, so you're going to look after this week. You're going to get some compost. You're going to source some compost. And here comes the chickens, Luke. You want to pan to those? There's our silkies. Now, they're allowed in the garden right now. They're not too destructive. They're allowed in the garden right now because there's nothing growing, but they will be chased out, and they won't be allowed in. You can hear them chirping. That's how I know they're doing a good job, because they are he's trying to find a way in. They are finding worms, and they're telling each other that there's worms. Hear them? Yeah. So what they're doing right there is they're breaking down that. Okay, so these chickens aren't very destructive. The other ones are kind of can tear stuff apart and eat everything, eat all the seeds, so I don't usually let them in too long. So there, they found a worm. He's going back for it. There. Oh, got a bug. Right, so the chickens are breaking this down, and they're going to keep scratching and getting air into that compost, and I'm going to get that all sorted out. That's going to be all spread out. I'm doing a row of sunflowers here. So if you guys like sunflowers, do you like sunflower seeds? Because you can roast sunflower seeds. Grow some sunflowers, and you can dry the heads, and you can roast those seeds out of the sunflowers. So that's really fun to do, as well as roasted pumpkin seeds. You know, there's all kinds of things that when you think about, when you go through your cupboards, you think, can I grow this? You know, how can I grow this? Or can I grow, you know, I really like to eat this. I really like to eat these things. Can I grow them? You know, so you want to see how you can do that. You want to start researching how you can do that. But if you're just getting started, you're going to start with the basics, and you're going to start with getting your compost in your garden. At least 2 to 3 inches of good compost spread over that section, whether it be a raised bed or whether it be in-ground or whether it be containers. You're going to start getting that ready. You're going to get some soil from the garden center. You're going to get some compost. Yep, you're going to get that up on the top, and then you're going to put all of that together, and then you're going to let that set for at least 3 weeks, okay? And we're going to get started in planting in about 3 weeks. We're going to start some seeds soon. So over here is a cold frame that I built out of 2 pallets and some plastic. So we've got 2 pallets and some plastic there. Very, very simple, cold frame. I put some more dirt in it. I put some compost in there, and I've planted lettuce seeds. So I'm going to have lettuce in about 30 days in this cold frame. So that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we get some things started that we can. So this I've actually planted earlier. This I've actually planted earlier because I really, really want to get some lettuce growing and some greens growing. And I'll be able to harvest out of this all summer as well. So even though it's called the cold frame, because I can lift this up and I can make sure that I get some air circulation in there when it gets really hot. So, all right, everybody. So I'm getting, it's Jennifer from Yellow Brick Road Farm. We've got Oreo here. We've got Goldie, Silky, and Dusty over there. We've got Luke on camera. We've got, we are talking about dirt and getting your soil ready and getting your garden ready to plant, okay? So right now you're going to be getting ready for your soil. You're going to put 2 to 3 inches of compost on the spot. You're going to pick your location. Remember, sun rises in the east, sets in the west. So you're going to go out. You're going to watch when the sun rises. You don't have to get up that early, but you know. So, okay, so you're going to go and you're going to follow that sun. You're going to make sure you get 8 to 10 hours of sun a day in the location you pick, okay? So we're going to make sure that we get 8 to 10 hours of sun a day. So we're going to find that location. You're going to get that 2 to 3 inches of compost put on that spot, and we're going to let that set because all of that good microbes and that good poop. All right, we went over the poop, we went over horse poop, the difference rabbit poop, and the difference of it being all composted, okay? And the microbes that creates. So we're gonna let that sink into the garden over the next 3 weeks. Some good heavy rains will get those microbes going down into the soil. Your soil's gonna come alive, and that's what you want. So you want that soil to get healthy and to get alive. So your homework, that's that. But I also have one more thing I'd like you to do. There's a movie called The Big Little Farm, okay? And I talked about healthy soil and how healthy soil is alive. And things that are alive, like the soil, will hold water. And it's called an aquifer. And so the healthier the soil is, the more water it will hold. And the more water it holds, the less you have to water it and the healthier your plants are and the better the better your food's going to taste. Okay, so you are going to look up the word aquifer. So the word aquifer, and you are going to watch the movie The Biggest Little Farm. You'll be able to find it everywhere now. It's quite popular. It's on Netflix. It's on some other spots. If you can't, let me know. I do have a copy here, and I'd be happy to lend it out. And if you're close by, I can drop it off and sanitize it and all that, and you can borrow it. The Biggest Little Farm. It's a family movie. It's something you guys all want to sit down and watch so that you can understand the cycle of what goes into soil and what it takes to get soil going from absolutely dead soil to actually healthy soil that is alive and living with microorganisms. Thought she peed on me. Anyway, with microorganisms and all of that. So anyway, that's session 1 of Edible Gardening with kids and parents. I hope you guys had a good time. I'm going to look at the questions after we get done, and I'm going to post the answers to post the questions, post the answers, and we'll hopefully, even if I don't know the answers, because trust me, I am no expert, guys, but I have done this literally my whole life. I grew up on a farm. I have grown up with a garden my whole life. I have always grown my own food. And I cannot tell you enough how thankful I am that I have that skill. So I didn't always appreciate it when I was younger, but I certainly do now. And I really hope that you guys learn to grow your own food. I think that it'll make a difference in your life and the lives of your family. Okay, so kids, if you're thinking that you want to do this, you enlist the help of all the adults in the house and all the other people in the house. Everyone can do something. Okay, whether it's throwing down a shovel load of compost or helping with picking out your seeds. Okay, so and so those are your things you're going to be looking at this week. if you're going to order seeds, you should do it probably soon. I know a lot of seed companies are running out of seed and are selling out. So that may be something you want to look at as well. So again, your homework, pick your sunny location, get your compost in your on your bed. You're going to watch The Biggest Little Farm. You're going to look up the word aquifer, and you're going to start looking at what seeds you want to plant, okay? And start looking at that. Seeds are not expensive. Don't go overboard. One package will go a long way, okay? Anyway, it's Jennifer from Yellow Brick Road Farm. Oreo here, Goldie, Dusty, and Glitter over there pecking away at the ground. We'll see you guys next week. Next Tuesday, we're going to see you again, and we're going to go through all of seed starting and getting things ready in the garden again, okay? Take care.